chaos, crime, cartels, and believe it or not, coyotes. I will not surrender this nation.
So before I get started on this, well, of course, we have to do the perfunctory, any kind of official business, the Pledge of Allegiance, all right? So here we go.
I've been seeing it, reading it, hearing it, border security.
And I hope you will convey to them our appreciation for their service. Last year, CBP continued to experience remarkable growth in terms of
across the United States remains a critical focus.
Oh, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless the USA.
And at the border, we face changing trends and illegal crossings that impact security, exploit our laws, and challenge our resources and personnel.
Every nation has not only the right, but the absolute duty to protect its borders and its citizens. A nation without borders.
He just said duty. He said duty. He said like real loud, like he was doing it on purpose.
The right, but the absolute duty.
So, quickly, what the fuck is Jan Führer up to? What is old Cheeto Face? What is old Cheeto Face, ferret-headed, Cheeto Face Jan Führer? I come up with a new one recently. Oh, you're President Dick Cheese. What is old President Dick Cheese up to? Well, President Dick Cheese, he is blaming the Democrats for the deaths of the children. How absolutely fucking responsible. I didn't blame him. I didn't blame the Republicans, even though their policies exacerbated the situation on the border.
At these ports, we owe a great deal to you, Commissioner, and the men and women who serve at these port of entries day in and day out.
They once held in Iraq and Syria. We will continue to work with friends and allies to deny radical Islamic terrorists any funding, territory, or support, or any means of infiltrating our borders.
We need asylum can in fact receive it. Third, we need to amend the Flores Settlement Agreement and recent expansions, which would allow for family detention during the removal process.
They are making it worse. They are militarizing the border. They are making it more militant. This is a part of the zero-tolerance strategy. This is a deterrent, right? What the fuck do Republicans, especially the racists, give a fuck about a bunch, two Guatemalan kids dying? Yeah, there's fake-ass Christians pretend what? The long-haired, hippie, socialist, Jesus Christ, the refugee. He didn't go, they didn't have no visa when they went into Bethlehem. Jesus was an anchor baby. Jesus was an anchor baby to become a Palestinian. That Jew, Jesus the Jew, who's a Palestinian, did not have a visa. He's a refugee. So Jesus Christ, brown or black, not white, was an anchor baby to get Palestinian citizenship. Today, Bethlehem is under occupation. So Felipe Alonzo Gomez, R.I.P. Jakelin Cal Macquin, R.I.P. It's an 8-year-old Guatemalan boy and a 7-year-old Guatemalan girl.
While in DHS custody. It is important that we understand exactly what led to her death and what steps DHS is taking to prevent a similar tragedy from occurring. The fact that CBP does not conduct a full medical examination of people it holds in its custody when they come into its custody is outrageous.
This is a nation not at all. Without borders, we have the reign of chaos, crime, cartels, and believe it or not, coyotes.
All right, go.
I'm going to go around the corner.
And they were both with their fathers, and they both died under custody of U.S. officials. They were under ICE, they were under Border Patrol, they went to the hospital, they went here, they went there. They are, who is responsible? Well, the people who are responsible are the people who are responsible. Is it the Democrats? Well, the Democrats have had a hard right-wing immigration policy. So he's sitting there saying that the Democrats, Mr. Deporter-in-Chief, Obama is deporting just as many immigrants as Donald Trump is. They're barely, like, getting the same number that Obama was getting. So they're trying to get tough on immigration, but Obama was, deporting the shit out of everybody just as much as the Trump administration. They also didn't give a shit about refugees. So the Democrats were right-wings. There's some, argument there. The Democrats are a little bit responsible, but who's running shit today? Oh, yeah, we have a Republican president, right? And then we have a Republican Senate. That's also who we have. And the reason that they died is the reason that they died. So let's, look at the two cases. First of all, Jakelin, she had died because she was dehydrated. So President Dick Cheese, he tweets this. He blames not only the Democrats, but he's lying about these specific events. He says the two children in question were very sick before they were given over to Border Patrol. Bullshit. That is a lie. They were not very sick. They got sick while they was in Border Patrol. The one got sick while they was in Border Patrol's care. The other one she was dehydrated, and then she was dead. So at no point in time did they, I guess, really even know what was going on because they didn't do a medical check. They were just locking them up, putting a bunch of handcuffs on these kids, and then eventually one of them quit breathing. One of them just died of dehydration. So that was 9 hours after they were in custody. That's Jakelin Cal-Maquin. So Jakelin Cal-Maquin was under Border Patrol for...
Mike, check!
Secretary Nielsen, how dare you spend your evening here eating dinner as you're complicit in the separation and deportation of all...
Chaos, crime, cartels, and believe it or not, coyotes. I will not surrender this nation.
Asylum application. These conflicting messages create mass confusion and actually drive migrants to use dangerous routes, which some people suspect is the purpose of this policy. In September...
For 9.5 hours, and she dies of dehydration. Was it totally just Border Patrol's fault? Probably not. Maybe it was a day. But to say that it was days, and then he blames it on the father. He says the father of the young girl says it was not their fault. He hadn't given her water in days. Another fucking lie by the commander-in-chief. So the commander-in-chief, this, President Dick Cheese, and I was getting all excited about this Syrian withdrawal thing, but this motherfucker could just be talking a bunch of bullshit in order to get progressives all excited that he might actually end these trillion-dollar wars. Yeah, right. Yeah, he's going to be an old Gerald Ford, right? Gerald Ford ended the Vietnam War. Donald Trump, he's not going to give up his power, his unlimited war powers. Give me a fucking break. We're not getting out of Syria. So the Democrats will be, all happy about that. But the reason why Democrats get a lot of shit is because they represent the liberals. So if the liberals are being right-wing authoritarian, not giving a shit about refugees, deporting the shit out of... Hillary Clinton was for a wall. If Hillary Clinton was elected president, we would have already had the wall, constructed. The wall would have already been there.
Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, world leaders, ambassadors, and distinguished delegates. Chaos, crime, cartels, and believe it or not, coyotes. I will not surrender this nation.
To put this aspect of our mission in context, one day of crossings, last Monday, December 3rd.
But I am still pissed off about the Republicans being obstructionist to Obama. Obama had a Republican plan. Obamacare is Republican. And he kept saying, hey, Republicans, you want this Republican plan? And the Republicans kept saying, nah, we don't want to do that Republican plan because fuck you. We're going to ruin this country. We're going to be obstructionists. And when the country goes down, we'll blame it all on you. And then you'll only be a one-term president. But hey, that's playing politics, and that's very sneaky. And the American people, they're not that stupid. They won't fall for that shit. They'll find you out, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, you won't get reelected with that strategy. Oh, shit, I guess it did fucking work. Oh, look who's fucking president. Well, I guess being an obstructionist piece of shit does pay. So, should the Democrats give Donald his wall? No fucking no.
1 year ago, I stood before you For the first time in this grand hall, I addressed the threats facing our world, and I presented a vision to achieve a brighter future for all of humanity. Today, I stand before the United Nations General Assembly.
As many members have been willing to meet with me, I've testified 7 times. I will continue to make myself available to ask that they work with us to solve this crisis. Yet the voices most loudly criticizing the enforcement of our current laws are those whose policies...
They should get homelessness. We can cure homelessness for $5 billion. That is way bigger priority. Not only do we have veterans and children and Americans, we don't even take care of American people, let alone, immigrants. So let's take care of 100, the 500,000 homeless people. $10,000 homes multiplied by 500,000, $5 billion. $5 billion. You want $5 billion for a wall? Fuck you. Cure homelessness. You want a big issue that we could solve with $5 billion? We could cure homelessness. Build a Trump Tower out in the middle of the desert.
Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Feinstein, and members of the committee, it's a privilege to appear before you today.
America's economy is booming like never before. Since my election, we've added $10 trillion in wealth. The stock market is at an all-time high in history, and jobless claims are at a 50-year low.
This policy would be disastrous. Its prime beneficiaries would be the smuggling organizations themselves, and the prime victims would be the children who would be plunged into the smuggling machines and gang recruitment on the trip north.
So, at 11 p.m., you had most of the Christians in the United States went into church at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve, and while they were sitting in church, they were there for an hour. It gets to be midnight, and then they get out. Midnight Mass, right? So midnight Mass, then it's Christmas Day. So you got to do your Christian thing, your Christian obligations is over, you all dress nice, then you go home, and then there's Santa Claus brought a bunch of presents. So, celebrate Jesus, celebrate Santa. That's how Christmas, that I understand Christmas happens. So that what happened instead for Felipe Alonso Gomez, and I'm just going to nickname him Felix, but we should learn his name. So either Felipe or Felipe Alonso Gomez. Felipe Alonso Gomez was an 8-year-old Guatemalan kid who got the flu while he was in custody under the Border Patrol for 6.5 days. They had him for 6.5 days. And they diagnosed him sick 2 or 3 times, the hospital did. Give him a couple of Advil and said to walk it off.
Travel and trade. More than 390 million travelers were...
Come here seeking asylum in the United States. We call on you to end family separation and abolish ICE.
Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE!
Abolish ICE!
Shame!
Implemented the Trade Facilitation and Trade Enforcement Act, and continued our commitment to ensure our officers and agents are safe as they carry out their critical duties and have the best training, policy, and equipment.
And then he was sleeping in the prisons, so he's sleeping in concrete floors. He's got the aluminum blanket on, right? They're putting aluminum blankets on these kids. So they're padded. They're aluminum blankets that are padded, but they're sleeping on the floor. We're all huddled together. He gets the flu. How's he supposed to get any peace? How's he supposed to get any peace and quiet to be able to get over that flu? 80,000 Americans died of the flu last year. So the flu and pneumonia kills a lot of old people and a lot of weak people that don't have good immune systems. So he is a 8-year-old boy. He got the flu while he was in custody of the United States public officials that are being paid by the public tax dollar, the Justice Department, the Homeland Security, ICE, and Border Patrol.
The list goes on, and I'm very fortunate to have a tremendous leadership team and a dedicated and innovative workforce at CBP to make progress across all these key areas.
There's a lot of misinformation about what DHS is and is not doing as it relates to families at the border, and I want to correct the record here.
Within CBP's broad responsibility, I recognize that our border security mission and our immigration enforcement efforts are of the greatest interest to this committee. Here we have made great strides as well. CBP's ability to detect and interdict illegal border crossings has never been higher. We are putting initial investments in border wall system to good use and have already built critical sections of modern wall in key border areas where it has made.
And at midnight, he's going to die. Felipe Alonso Gomez is going to die at midnight on Christmas Day. They're going to say that it was after midnight. Then they go back and say it's before midnight. Nah, I'm just going to put it on midnight. We don't know exactly when. Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. Yeah, midnight. That's when he died. At midnight.
10,000 children separated from their parents. How can you enjoy a Mexican dinner as you're deporting and imprisoning tens of thousands of people?
The facts. First, this administration did not create a policy of separating families at the border. We have a statutory responsibility that we take seriously to protect alien children from human smuggling, trafficking, and other criminal actions while enforcing our immigration laws.
So an 8-year-old Guatemalan kid who died on Christmas Day, exactly at midnight, that is what happened to him. That was his Christmas. That was his Santa Claus. That was his celebration in a jail cell with his father. Why? Because they thought America was going to be the land of opportunity. They thought that, this was Bethlehem. They'll be able to give birth to a kid and be able to raise the kid. He was a refugee. So you're not to blame the Democrats in Congress are to blame. So who is to blame? All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Who is to blame?
U.S. Customs and Border Protection's counterterrorism, border security, trade enforcement, agriculture protection, and trade and travel facilitation missions are essential to U.S. homeland and economic security.
Or the sovereign rights of nations. Instead, Iran's leaders plunder the nation's resources to enrich themselves and to spread mayhem across the Middle East and far beyond. The Iranian people are rightly outraged that their
policies created this crisis and whose policies perpetrate it. In particular, we need to reform 3 major loopholes. Let me quickly walk you through them. First, we need to amend the 2008 Trafficking Victims Prevention Reauthorization Act, or TVPR, which is...
The people that's to blame for Jakelin Cal Macwin's death is partially the father, probably. We haven't got the toxicology or the autopsy report yet, but there was sepsis, shock, dehydration. She was thirsty. She died of not having enough water. She was so parched, she had no water. She died of thirst. Could you imagine if dying of thirst, just, out in the desert, just thirsty, and then you're dead? It takes 2 days, tops, 1 day, minimum, most of the time, unless you have physical activity or you have hot temperatures. So 75 degrees out there in New Mexico when they were walking, and they walked at least an hour and a half. So there was some physical activity. They're in custody for 9.5 hours. Border Patrol could have maybe done something. They talk about how they airlifted her off and they tried to save her, but they did that 9.5 hours later after she stopped breathing for a good duration. So she's brain dead anyways, even if they brought her back. But if they would have gone straight into the emergency response when they found out she wasn't breathing, when they found her, if they would have done a medical test, you got these pediatricians, Kathleen Kraft is saying that we need pediatricians on the border to give them a medical analysis so that way they're not dying of stupid little tiny shit, fucking dehydration. America, you didn't have no water for Jakelin Cal Macwin. Jakelin Cal Macwin is going to die.
Leaders have embezzled billions of dollars from Iran's treasury, seized valuable portions of the economy, and looted the people's religious endowments, all to line their own pockets and send their proxies to wage war. Not good. Iran's neighbors have paid a heavy toll for the region's agenda.
An immediate impact. We have turned around our hiring and ended the last fiscal year with almost 500 more frontline officers and agents. We maintain the most capable civilian law enforcement air and marine.
Much easier to say. This law encourages families to put children in the hands of smugglers to bring them alone on this dangerous trek northward. And make no mistake, we've talked about this before, this trek is dangerous and deadly.
Dehydration. No water for her. No, Jesus, you need to get the hell out of here. We don't even have any water for you. Nah, we got a wall. We got, militarized border. We're not even human anymore. If your kid dies over here, then that's going to be a deterrent to keep all the rest of you guys out. So who's to blame? The person that's to blame for Jakelin Cal McEwen's death is both the Border Patrol and the father. The Border Patrol is specifically, I want to hear Donald Trump speak this come out of his own lips. And if he's going to sit there and say that they are acceptable, then that means he's covering their fucking asses. He is covering their fucking crimes up. The Border Patrol is definitely responsible for Jakelin Cal McEwen's death. They held her for 9.5 hours. They could have done a medical test and then immediately send her to the hospital if the father had not been giving her water for days. That's also not the case. They give him a form and he signed it or didn't sign it. He was in the custody of United States officials and they give him a form to sign and they said, well, that form says he denied any water, food, or medical care for anybody for all time. Yeah, right, I'm sure. So it was in English. He speaks Spanish as his second language. He speaks Quiche Mayan. His native language is the Mayan language. So they give him a form in English, and then they're saying, "Oh, he said everything was totally fine." No, if he did say that, if that form he's reversed what he said. Okay, so we don't know. It's not clear or not if he had given water to his daughter beforehand. The autopsy should have told us. 9.5 hours, right? So how long does it take for a person to die of dehydration? 9.5 hours. How hot was it in that detention center?
Second, we need to reform our asylum laws to end the systemic abuse of our asylum system and stop fraud. Right now, our asylum system fails to assist asylum seekers who legitimately need it. We are a country of compassion. We are a country of heart. We must fix the system so that those who truly
African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all achieved their lowest levels ever recorded. We've added more than 4 million new jobs.
And we need Congress to fully fund our ability to hold families together through the immigration process.
So the Border Patrol finished her off. So he might have weakened her. He might have made her sick. I don't know if he made her sick, because she wasn't showing any of the symptoms until later. But the other one, 6.5 years old, he was in custody of the Border Patrol for 6.5 days. And so he got the flu, and then he died a couple days later. So that was totally the United States. Did he have the flu when they first came into the United States? It's a common flu. It's a common cold. It's cold outside. And, the being on the floor and everybody, caravanning and stuff. So they were sick before they were given over to Border Patrol? Nah, that's the bullshit. If they were sick before they were given over to Border Patrol, then the moment that Border Patrol got that sick kid, they should have sent him to the hospital. They weren't sick. They didn't show any signs of sickness, and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't give him water. They didn't even give him water. So whether they were sick or healthy, they didn't get any water. They didn't get water. They didn't get any food.
Until these loopholes are closed by Congress, it is not possible as a matter of law to detain and remove whole family units who arrive illegally in the United States. Congress and the courts created this problem,
including 500,000 manufacturing jobs. We have passed the biggest tax cuts and reforms in American history. We've started the construction of a major...
That is not to say we do not face challenges in our border security mission. Clearly, the increased smuggling of heroin, fentanyl, and other synthetic opioids, along with growing rates of methamphetamine that are devastating communities.
Border wall, and we have greatly strengthened border security. We have secured record funding for our military, $700 billion this year, and
Congress alone can fix it. Until then, we will enforce every law we have on the books to defend the sovereignty and security of the United States. Those who criticize the enforcement of our laws have offered only one countermeasure: open borders, the quick release of all illegal alien families, and the decision not to enforce our laws.
Shame! 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 Shame!
And then they're going to sit there and say how much food that they actually got. They are documenting they're doing a lot better now at this bullshit than what they were, because they're getting out in front of the story and they're blaming everybody. Oh, it's the hospital's fault, it's that person's fault, it's the jail's fault, it's the transporter's fault, it's this person's fault, it's the person who gave them a snack, it's the person who gave them, goldfish. They did 17 welfare checks. 17. They actually ask him, are you okay? Because if you ask me if I'm okay 17 times, we're like, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I told you I'm fine, so get the fuck away from me. Or did they just walk by and just kind of look inside? Are you alive? Yeah, you're alive. Okay. That's a welfare check.
Assad regime.
Shame! Shame! Shame!
Fascist pigs!
Shame! Shame!
Shame! Shame!
So are the Democrats in Congress to blame because they weren't strong enough on the border? They were very strong on the fucking border. They were too fucking strong. They were too right-wing. So no, Donald, you're fucking wrong about that, about the goddamn policies of the Democrats. You're also lying. You're lying through your fucking teeth. The father of the young girl said it was not their fault. He signed that fucking form. He's now saying that it's not. So what are you going to believe? What he wrote on that form when he first got captured by, or he turned himself in, or however the fuck that turned out? And that's the thing, we don't even know when Felipe died. We don't even know the exact moment he died because they lied. They said it was after, then they said it was before. Oh shit, can't say that it was on Christmas. You better backdate that file.
I commend the people of Jordan and other neighboring countries for hosting refugees from this very brutal civil war.
So, Felipe Alonso Gomez, baby Felipe Alonso Gomez and Jakelin Cal Macquin, he's just lying. He's just lying straight about it. And then his argument is Border Patrol needs the wall and it will all end. They're working so hard and getting so little credit. Okay, so I'm not inherently against walls or pro-walls. There's nothing about a wall that I hate or, like. There's benefits to it that separates and divides. It can. I don't care. I like Colorado, so put a wall around Colorado and just keep everybody out of Colorado. I'm okay with that. But keep everybody. Keep it. All the Nebraskans, all the Montanans, all the Californians. Nobody needs to come to Colorado. This is my state. I just smoke a bunch of weed here. And it's awesome, okay? That's a game changer right there.
This approach also stretches.
No human being is illegal!
So now that I heard old President Dick Cheese, Yeinfuhrer, talk about these two kids' deaths, Jakelin and Felipe, like they ain't shit. Oh yeah, they're just political pawns. It's the Democrats' fault. For what? They were tough as fuck on immigrants. The only way the Democrats could have been wrong is if they were soft, but they were tough as fuck. Get the fuck out of here. They were not fucking soft. They were tough. And they were too tough. And now you're being even more tougher. So both the Democrats and the Republicans are to blame. And the exacerbating the no-tolerance policy of the president has made the situation worse. Of course, the children being put in cages, the families getting separated, they're sleeping on floors in aluminum blankets. Jesus Christ.
Gas crime, cartels, and believe it or not, coyotes. I will not surrender this nation.
Secretary Nielsen, I'm glad to see you before our committee. I'm disappointed, however, that it has taken so long to schedule this oversight hearing. This is the first time you've...
No human being is illegal! No human...
Border Patrol needs the wall. It will all end if the Border Patrol gets the wall, right? Yeah, right, because there's no way they can get inside, and then as soon as they get over the wall, why do we got to lose our humanity? If we're going to capture them and put them in custody, the people's fault that, who's to blame for
finite resources to help far more people, increasing the impact of every dollar spent.
Jakelin's death, The father and the Border Patrol. Who's to blame for the Alonzo Gomez, for Felipe's death? It would be, I can't even blame the father at all on that, because 6.5 days, that's totally the American government. American government's got to claim that 100%. That was ICE, that was Border Patrol, that was hospital officials. It was everybody that saw him, everybody that was driving him. They said he got a bunch of food here and there. Bullshit. If he was so fed and so taken care of, and he went to the hospital so many times, and everybody just loves him, just showering him with medical attention, how come he died of a simple flu?
The remorseless secretary during the holidays, Christmas, as they like to make sure and specify. I suspect that if you still have your job, which seems to always be a big question, in 3 weeks, we'll see if you still have the same sympathetic questions when you come back. Because there's one thing that this administration's done better than any other administration in American history, and that is lie. President Trump descended the golden escalators at Trump Tower to announce his candidacy by saying Mexico was sending us the worst rapists, murderers. Then he said he was required to break up migrant families because of bad laws that the Democrats gave us. How about the one about Mexico paying for the wall? You want $5 million, and you want $5 billion, and you want the American public to pay for it. Isn't Mexico supposed to pay for it? Wasn't that the campaign promise? No, that's just another lie.
A tiny little flu, 80,000 died, but, Americans died last year. So a lot of Americans died, 80,000. But you're not supposed to die of the flu. That's poor people, that's people that don't have health care, that's old people that's about to die anyways, or that's children. So to die of a flu, he's 8 too, he's not a baby. So to die of the flu, to die of something so, the common cold, something so basic, something so little. There's people that have medical bankruptcies. We don't even have universal health care. If we had that concept, universal health care, we all take care of people's health, then both of these kids would still be alive. So not having universal health care is to blame.
It is as you can't see the reality of modern immigration or contributions of anyone who came from countries other than Norway and other parts of Europe. It's as if you and the Trump administration are blind. And you know what? It seems like you agree with Tucker Carlson that immigrants only bring danger and dirt and division. But I have to say the all-time record for lying in the face of all the evidence was a tweet you, Madam Secretary, sent out on June the 17th. And it says, "We do not have a policy of separating families at the border, period." That's your Twitter account. That's what you put out. Yet you came here today to tell us exactly is your policy of separating families and children from their families. Another lie.
The policies of the Democrats and the Republicans are to blame, including the president, including the Congress. Who specifically is to blame? I think for the first case, it's the father and the Border Patrol. And for the second case, it's the Border Patrol, ICE, and not the father. So the government is to blame at least half, at least 50% for Jakelin, and 100% for Felipe. 100%. That was on our watch. 6.5 days. For 6.5 days, we held Felipe. Knew he was sick. Tried to find out if he had strep throat. Couldn't find nothing. Didn't diagnose. Knew he was sick, but just give him a couple ibuprofen and some amoxicillin. Here's some penicillin. Yeah, take a couple penicillins in the morning. Take this and call me in the morning, right?
A time in which we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. A Jesus Christ who had to flee for his life with Mary and Joseph. Thank God there wasn't a wall that stopped him from seeking refuge in Egypt. Shame on everybody that separates children and allows them to stay at the other side of the border, fearing death, fearing hunger, fearing sickness. Shame on us for wearing our badge of Christianity during Christmas and allow the secretary to come here and lie.
So I'm glad the Democrats obstruct this son of a bitch. Y'all want to, go against the Republican plan because you wanted Obama's fucking the entire thing to sink. You wanted all America to fail, right? Rush Limbaugh, right? Mitch McConnell. That was the whole fucking point of being an obstruct. And then it worked. It worked. Look who we got into, as president. Obama couldn't even pick the last Supreme Court justice. So they were finally able to get their reactionaries up in arms and out to vote.
Calling me a liar are fighting words. I'm not a liar. We've never had a policy for family separation. I'm happy to walk the gentleman through it again. A policy of family separation would mean that any family that I encountered in the interior, I would separate. It would mean that any family that I found at a port of entry, I would separate. It would mean that every single family that I found illegally crossing, we would separate. We did none of those. What we did do is uphold the laws that Congress has passed, and we prosecuted those who choose to come here illegally.
So you can build your fucking wall. My generation's going to tear it down. I don't actually want you to build the fucking wall. I do, you know, Mr. Donald J. Trump, tear down this wall. We tore down the Berlin Wall. I heard the Chinese wall didn't work. The Great Wall of China didn't work. And then I heard the Palestinian wall, the Berlin Wall. I don't like these walls. So ultimately, I hesitate to say go ahead and build it because we'll tear it down, because I'm afraid that it might stay forever. Let's adopt Mexico. Let's adopt Central America into the United States of America. But both of these continents are the Americas anyways. And also, we're not one color. This isn't white America. White America is a part of America. This is brown America, black America, red America, yellow America. We've been red America for 30,000 years.
As far as not being compassionate, let me just tell you what I have done. And of course, he couldn't be bothered to stay, so I'm happy to tell the rest of the committee. What we have done is we have worked extensively with the Northern Triangle countries to find ways to help vulnerable populations as soon in their journey as possible. We have worked against traffickers. We have the first anti-smuggling, anti-trafficking strategy this January. We do investigations. We help survivors. I take personal offense on behalf of the 240,000 men and women of the Department of Homeland Security.
America is red, white, and blue. These colors don't run. America is black, white, brown, green, every color in the Crayola box, every color in the spectrum of the rainbow. America is every single color out here. We're not just one color. We're a nation of people. We're part of these boundaries. 60 to 70% of us are, you know, what they call Caucasian, from the land of Caucasia. But no, most of them aren't from the land of Caucasia. Caucasian is just a way to sound more loftier because, you know, white, blanc, just white, pure lily white, snow white. You ever seen a white person? If I ever seen a real white person, I would scream, I would shriek in terror and run away. Ah! You know, if I actually saw a real white person, like, that is white, that'd be mean. I would probably be afraid, you know, secretly, but I wouldn't express it.
I figured out the solution. First Lady, tell Nancy Pelosi, I don't want the wall. Oh, we want the wall. And then we get the wall. That's another way of doing it. That's another way of doing it.
But I think it's good that the Democrats are obstructing this shit. They're going to get in there. The House is going to get in there. So fuck Donald Trump on his wall. Wait for the next Congress to get in there. Wait a couple days, America. That's fine. You know, don't fund any of that other this shit. What the food stamps is the biggest thing. He's cutting food, but I feel like he's hurting himself. This is the Trump shutdown. So, you know, say what you want about the Department of Justice. Say what you want about the Department of Agriculture. Say what you want about the other Department of Homeland Security, which is responsible for these kids dying. So they're not doing a good job anyway. So maybe we should cut Homeland Security and ICE. ICE needs to be abolished. We need to abolish ICE because their fucking right-wing tactics. ICE is the one that killed Felipe. ICE and the Border Patrol both were in on Felipe's death. They handled him. They captured him. They're supposed to either send him back or, you know, process him to be an asylum seeker. So either keep him, deport him, put him in jail, right? What other choices? Indefinitely? Just indefinite jails? Allow him to become a citizen? Deport him? You only got 3 or 4 options there. So pick a
Now, we have to have it. And, you know, not only human trafficking, drugs, illegals, a lot of criminals, bad records. We've seen murderers come in through the, you saw what happened with the caravan, as we call it.
You know, pick one. Pick one. And then that's what but they couldn't decide. They couldn't figure out what they were going to do with them, so they just let them sit around. They let them flounder. And the biggest reason to oppose the wall obstructs these Republicans, go ahead and obstruct them back. This won't hurt the Democrats whatsoever. This is on the Republican president. But fuck that wall, because $5 billion would solve homelessness. Homelessness is so much more important than the wall. Do both. Do both. So as excited as I want to get about Syria, if he's being serious, but he lies. He lied about the father of this girl. He lied about the reason. He lied about them being sick the entire time. Oh, yeah, right. It had everything to do with the fathers and had everything to do with them before they even got to 6.5 days. If you got a kid for 6.5 days, that's you. That's on you. The 9 hours, you could split the difference. Maybe the father made her sick, dehydrated her somewhat, but Border Patrol finished her off. They said, we're going to go ahead and carry on this horrible policy of your fathers of not giving you any medical attention or food or water. And we're going to dehydrate you to death. Dehydration. And to die of the flu can't be any better. To die of the flu? A little cough? Oh, you got a little cough? Oh, now you're dead? Come on, America. That's the Border Patrol, that's ICE, and a little bit of the first father. But it's not the second father whatsoever, and he's pretending like they have no responsibility whatsoever, including himself. He's going to point at the Democrats. The Democrats are right-wing fascist pieces of shit when it comes to immigration. So the Democrats have been fucking Republicans the entire goddamn time. So that's why this criticism doesn't make any sense. They've already been the deporter-in-chief. They already said fuck over the refugees. The Democrats are the ones that are overturning these. The Honduran government was overturned by Democrats. The Guatemalan government was overturned by the Republicans. So what are we supposed to fucking do with this shit? It's a bipartisan consensus. Fuck the refugees. Fuck the immigrants. We're going to put up the wall. He says he's going to close down the damn wall anyways. Well, that's the Democrats' legacy, is that they're a bunch of fucking assholes. They're a bunch of right-wing fucking pieces of shit. So the Democrats are to blame, as well as the Republicans, because of their right-wing immigration fucking tactics. Instead of looking at baby Jakelin and baby Felipe as children, as humans, they looked at them as criminals. You crossed illegally, now we get to treat you like crap. And I would hate to think that perhaps the policy, I bet you, I don't know if they intended this to be the policy, but I fear, and I bet it's true, that they don't give a shit. These kids died, that acts as a deterrent. Who gives a goddamn? So I'm glad I thought that perhaps Donald could have actually been a man. Hey, Donald Trump.
Caravan of thousands of people. And by the way, our Border Patrol did an incredible job, and our military did an incredible job, and local law enforcement on the various parts of the border did an incredible job.
Mexico would pay for the wall. Why isn't Mexico? The president said he guaranteed it. Mexico would pay. Mexico clearly, the former government, the new government, said they're not paying.
Thank you for asking the question. So first of all, as the president has said, as we've all said, the wall will be paid for through the savings on trade alone. But I want to explain to you and your audience.
If that will happen, why do you need $5 billion right now if Mexico is going to come up?
And those caravans are slowly breaking up, and they're going back where they came from, and they have to come into our country legally. And that's what you're fighting for. You know, when you think about it, you're fighting for borders in other countries.
Yeah. The guy could set it on fire. It's always something that's a cause of this, a natural element. Look at water. Water and hydro-imperialism is going to be the currency of war in the future. Look at Libya. Look at Gaddafi. Look at the Nubian sandstone aquifer. Look what that was about. So we always come up.
Why don't you be a man and actually stand up to the Border Patrol that killed those kids? If you're a good man with integrity and you want justice, then you would point at the Border Patrol that had caused these fatalities because they died on their watch, whether it's first-degree homicide, whether they intended for them to die or they were negligent. At the very least, it's manslaughter. So why don't you stand up for what's right? Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And point at those Border Patrol agents who killed those kids and charge them with a crime. if you're actually going to stand up for justice and for doing what's fair and doing what's right, and this is our American judicial system works so perfectly, and that's how we figure out our disputes is through the American criminal justice system, then put charges on these Border Patrol agents and then let the jury of their peers figure out their guilt and their punishment. If you're a man. If you're not a man, pretend they didn't do shit wrong and play this fucking dumbass game where you're going to lose. You're not going to get your fucking wall. You shouldn't get your wall. If the Democrats cave, which is what they are known for, caving, the Democrats don't cave. Just fucking wait 5 days. You can't wait 5 fucking days. Just wait, Democrats. You'll be okay. The country will survive. They won't put it on the Democrats. It's Donald Trump. It's his shutdown. He wants a wall. He shut down the government until he gets the funding for the wall. That's what the fuck he's doing. And he's, throwing out every fucking thing that he could possibly throw out, including ending the Syrian war, which he's promising. But
with these highfalutin reasons for he's an evil man, and he gasses his people. Nonsense. False flag. Tampered with evidence.